My pleasure.
Secretary Clinton's gotten pretty definitive right now. She says, I am going to be the Democratic nominee. There's no way I won't be. Can you lay out a credible path to stopping her?
Well, I think she might want to talk to the people of Indiana, West Virginia, and Oregon who voted very strongly for me in the last 3 contests, people of Kentucky who kind of split the delegates. And I think we're going to do very well in the 9 remaining contests. So I think Secretary Clinton is jumping the gun a little bit here. Here is the scenario. We understand that we have about 46% of the pledged delegates. In order to get 50%, we're going to have to do very, very, very well in the remaining 9 contests. I think we have a shot. It's going to be an uphill climb, but I think we have a shot to do that. We're going to fight as hard as we can for every delegate and every vote. The other point that I would make, George, is that if you look at virtually all of the polls done in the last 6-7 weeks, in every one of them, nationally polls and statewide polls, we defeat Donald Trump by larger margins, in some cases significantly larger margins than does Secretary Clinton. You got a lot of superdelegates out there. 400 of them actually came on board Clinton's campaign before anybody else was in the race. I asked those superdelegates to take a look at which candidate is the stronger candidate to defeat Donald Trump, something that has got to happen in my view. I think the objective evidence is our campaign is the strongest campaign to defeat Trump.
But as you know, the Clinton campaign has pointed out that they've gotten about 3 million more votes than you have. And when you look at the delegate map, she only needs 90 more pledged delegates to get ahead of you to win. She has twice, her lead right now over you is twice as large as President Obama's in 2008. And to win, you not only have to do very well, you have to get close to 70% of the vote in every remaining state. Right. That's really not possible.
I wouldn't say I would say it's a very steep uphill climb. But you know, from day one, it has been an uphill climb for us. We started taking on the entire establishment. We've now won 20 states. And between you and me, Georgia, I think we're going to win many of the remaining contests. Now, one of the points that Clinton makes is
factually many's not good enough.
She is not 3 million votes ahead of us. They have conveniently forgotten the states that have caucuses where we won overwhelmingly. But I think the reason that we are going to do well in the remaining states, and the case we make to the superdelegates, is the Democratic Party has got to open up its doors in a way it hasn't to working people, to young people, to low-income people who are sick and tired of establishment politics and establishment economics. We need a campaign, an election coming up, which does not have 2 candidates who are really very, very strongly disliked. I don't want to see the American people voting for the lesser of 2 evils. I want the American people to be voting for a vision of economic justice, of social justice, of environmental justice, of racial justice. That is the campaign we are running, and that's why we are getting the support we are.
Is that how you would describe Hillary Clinton against Donald Trump, the lesser of 2 evils?
Well, if you look, no, I wouldn't describe it, but that's what the American people are saying. If you look at the favorability ratings of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, both of them have very, very high unfavorables. You're not going to disagree with me on that,
There's no question about that. Absolutely. Let me just go on, though, because our poll also does show that, for sure, our brand new poll. It also has some evidence that your contest is creating some challenges that could hurt the Democrats in November. Secretary Clinton is only running even with Donald Trump among 18 to 29-year-olds. That's a big drop for her. And 20% of your supporters now say they'd vote for Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. That's a big jump since March. If this nomination fight doesn't turn out as you hope, are you confident you're going to be able to convince your supporters to choose Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump?
You know, well, 2 things. Number one, it is the function of every candidate, Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, to reach out to the American people and make the case why they should be supported. And I have every confidence that if Hillary Clinton is prepared to stand up to the greed of corporate America and Wall Street, is prepared to be really strong on the issue of climate change, support, as I do, a tax on carbon, is prepared to say that the United States of America should join the rest of the industrialized world and guarantee health care to all people, paid family and medical leave, is prepared to say that the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality today in America, where almost all new income and wealth is going to the top 1%, if she is strong on those issues, yeah, I think she will win and win by a large vote. But if she is not, she's going to have her problems. I think the reason we are doing so well is that the American people know that if elected president, Bernie Sanders will stand up, fight for working people, and take on the greed of Wall Street and
Are you going to
corporate
push
America.
for all those positions in the Democratic platform?
We are going to push for the most progressive agenda that we can, which stands with the working people of this country. George, I know the media doesn't talk about it too much, but the middle class of this country has been in decline for 30+ years, and the gap between the very, very rich and everybody else is getting wider. We have a corrupt campaign finance system which allows billionaires to buy elections. We are going to fight for an agenda in the Democratic platform that recognizes that reality, that makes the Democratic Party the party that stands for working families, not for Wall Street, not for corporate America.
A lot of Democrats anxious about those protests at the Nevada State Convention last week, and a number of your supporters are now filing permits to protest in Philadelphia as well. Are you encouraging that, and are you confident you can keep the situation in Philadelphia under control?
Well, one of the things that bothers me about media coverage of Nevada, I saw a story on the New York Times, chairs being thrown. Did you see any chairs being thrown? There weren't any. They had a bunch of police officers there. To the best of my knowledge, George, I wasn't there. Nobody was touched. What happened is there was no violence. What happened is people were rude. That's not good. They were booing. That's not good. They behaved in some ways that were a little bit boorish. Not good. But let's not talk about that as violence. Do people in Philadelphia, going to Philadelphia or any place else in America, have the right to demonstrate, have the right to express their concerns? I thought that that was what the First Amendment of the Constitution was about, freedom of expression, freedom of speech. So, no, we're not encouraging anybody. In fact, I read about this in the newspaper the other day. But, of course, people have the right to peaceably assemble and make their views heard. And let me just say this. Essentially, what's going on, and the Democratic Party has got to recognize this. Our supporters do not go to fancy, high-priced fundraising dinners. That's not who they are. They're working 2 or 3 jobs. They're worried about the future of their children, whether their kids are going to get a college education. Those are the people who are coming into our movement. And I hope the Democratic leadership is smart enough to say, come on in. We want you in. Your views are the views of the majority of the American people. Let's work together. That's what I hope the convention is about, and obviously I hope that I win the nomination.
If you don't, sir, and this is my final question, you open to be considered as Secretary Clinton's running mate?
It's a little bit early to talk about that. Right now, our function is to do everything I can, George, and you're going to see me running all over California. We're in New Mexico now. We're going to do everything that we can to get every vote and every delegate that we can and go into that convention with as much momentum as is possible.